Hi, I'm Daniel Tisch, CEO of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. So last week, I had a reminder of just how powerful business advocacy can be. It actually started back in April, when the U.S. expanded its tariffs on imported metals. And so what they did is they changed the tariffs so that they would apply on the full value of the products, not just the cost of the metal content. So it sounds kind of small and subtle, but the impact of this change was absolutely enormous. So for Ontario, it actually amounted to a 43% increase in the effective tariffs on our products. That was an immediate risk to 15,000 jobs in southwestern Ontario alone, and thousands more in manufacturing supply chains across the province, the country, and the whole continent. Frankly, to every company that relies on steel, aluminum, copper, and derivative products. That's a lot of businesses. So that's when the Ontario Chamber Network sprung into action. The Ontario Chamber and 31 local chambers in affected regions together issued a call for urgent action to support businesses from this latest attack. We pushed this hard in the media and in our conversations with elected leaders. Our VP Policy made a presentation to the House of Commons Standing Committee on Industry and Technology. So in short, we did the mandate that's right there in our mission. We convened, we mobilized, and we empowered businesses and local chambers to lead positive change. So what happened last week? Well, my phone rang. It was Evan Solomon, the Minister of Federal Economic Development for Southern Ontario. And he told me the government was listening and the government was responding. And boy, were they ever. I got to give them credit. $1.5 billion of new support for Canada's tariffed industries. Now, this relief is coming in a way that's both meaningful and responsible, because the main part of it is $1 billion in financing from the Business Development Bank of Canada. It's offered on favorable terms for industries that manufacture and export products that contain steel, aluminum, or copper. Second, there's $500 million more through the Regional Tariff Response Initiative, and this supports tariff-impacted businesses in all sectors. Now, this is not a magic potion, but it does a couple of things. It gives businesses essential breathing room today and helps them adapt their operations for tomorrow. So what comes next? Well, first, we have to get delivery of these programs right, and we'll work with the government on this to ensure that the programs are accessible, well-designed, and responsive to on-the-ground realities. Second, it's kind of like taking over-the-counter pain relief. This may be fast-acting, but it's not long-lasting relief. And I think to get that long-lasting relief, Canadian and American businesses need to push hard together for a mutually beneficial resolution to this insane trade war. We all know it's driving up costs and hurting the futures of businesses and workers and communities on both sides of the border. Now, for Ontario and Canada, I should be clear that this does not mean making a deal at any cost. We feel strongly that Canada should not offer any concessions unless we get something meaningful in return. So our job as the voice of business is to be clear-eyed, consistent, and firm about what we need. And that's a deal that creates stability and predictability and fair access to our most important market. So that's what we're going to continue to advocate for with the federal government, the Ontario government, and of course directly with our American business and chamber partners. We're going to keep sharing data and telling stories, real-life examples of how tariffs and tariff compliance are affecting operations and cash flow and decisions on investment that affect workers and communities. We just held the first meeting of the OCC's new Trade and Competitiveness Council, and it was a chance for us to meet virtually with the senior trade lead at Canada's Embassy in Washington, and also to hear from experts on tax reform. Later this month, we're convening businesses and chambers and government leaders for our One Canada Summit. And that's going to look at ways to strengthen our interprovincial market and bring down interprovincial trade barriers once and for all. And in June, we'll gather with our chamber network from across Ontario for our annual Advocacy Day at Queen's Park. These are all opportunities to come together and make sure decision makers understand what's at stake and what businesses need. Fast and usable relief, smarter and simpler programs, a coordinated strategy to protect Ontario's supply chains and jobs, continued work to build our infrastructure, to sharpen the skills of our workforce, and to strengthen our own economy. And finally, growing our trade with customers and suppliers in other provinces and other countries. In a moment like this, our greatest asset is the size and diversity of the Ontario Chamber community. Businesses of every size, every industry, and every community in Ontario. Connected as we are through the Chamber movement to our peers and partners across the country, the continent, and the whole world. By using this asset wisely, by convening and mobilizing and empowering, we can bring the voice of Ontario business to every table that matters and work with governments so that we can keep turning advocacy into action. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.